Election strategy as much as about platforms and connecting with voters as it is about timing. Right now, Albertans are waiting for Rachel Notley to drop the writ and decide when we are actually going to go to the polls. But maybe there's a little bit of a wrench in her plan now with this kamikaze candidate saga that the UCP seems to be embroiled in. Lori Williams joins us from Mount Royal University, and we want to get your insight on this. You know, many were expecting the writ to be dropped this week, that we're going to have an election called. Do you see that changing with all that's happening with the UCP?
Well, my original guess at mid-April, which a lot of us were guessing, has shifted a bit, mostly because what we're seeing in terms of the legislative agenda. We see that she appears to want to at least debate, if not pass, Bill 1 and perhaps a few other bills. And so that suggests that we've got a bit of work to do in the legislature. Won't be a budget, but it looks like there will be some legislative measures. And of course, that'll be the foundation upon which she campaigns. If that's the case, if it gets pushed back, let's say a couple of weeks, I still think it's likely to be late April. It can't be in the interim between middle and late, because Easter is in there. So I'm guessing late April will likely be when the election is called for.
Okay. So do you see the UCP candidate controversy perhaps throwing a wrench in the plans of the Conservatives right now in the UCP party? They were trying to have a united front, and now we're seeing a bit of a split.
Right. Well, we've been seeing a bit of a split for a while now. So we've seen a number of candidates who've raised questions and concerns about the way the leadership campaign was run, and that, of course, has really come to the fore now with these emails and people placing Jason Kenney in the room at the planning stages. So Derek Fildebrandt, and others are also saying, Happy Man, I think, is saying that he's been seeing this as well. So we have 3 people placing Jason Kenney in the room at the planning stages, so it looks like it's coming from the top. And because he sort of had a plan, he was going to be the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, then unify the parties, and made a lot of promises to Wild Rosers about that unification. Not just that we're going to defeat the NDP, but also that we're going to respect principles that were more important than power to a lot of Wild Rose supporters. So things like transparency, accountability, grassroots democracy. I mean, the essence of democracy is deeply important. There were lots of people in that party who didn't want to be part of the Progressive Conservative corruption and elitism, and the entitlement that was associated with that, because democracy mattered more to them. And advocating for those principles outside government was more important to them than power at any cost. Those folks may look again at what's going on. So we've seen a number of Wild Rosers who are talking about the dictatorial, non-democratic structure of the leadership right now. We saw the Livingston MacLeod board resign. So these things were happening before these allegations came forward. And I think it's too soon to say exactly what the impact is going to be, but it certainly looks like divisions are brewing within the party.
Does this work the longer that perhaps we have for the NDP? A longer election call, waiting out a little bit to see if there's more division in the Conservative Party? Does it work for the NDP to let this kind of breathe?
It's hard to know. I mean, on the one hand, it could be that as this reverberates and more information comes out, the damage to the UCP gets greater. On the other hand, if other issues sort of take hold and become more important, and these are unpredictable. In election campaigns, we never know what's going to be the primary concern. So I think on a day-to-day basis, those kinds of the dealing with the issues that come up in the day, that's going to be important, and it'll be a real test of the leadership of both Rachel Notley and Jason Kenney as to how well they manage this and the other issues that are coming forward.
Is something like this kind of a controversy enough to change the election topics? You know, we often have simple issues that are the ones that people go down and say, I'm voting for the economy, or I'm voting for a trustworthy person. Is this an opportunity to change that channel and maybe change the election issue? Well,
it is potentially, I think, in this election enough to make a difference, because that notion of trust me, I'll be better for the economy, I'll be better for healthcare, for education, for jobs, and so forth. And so it will come down to who people trust, as well as which issues are important to them. And it may well be that the trust for Jason Kenney on the economy is higher than that for Rachel Notley, especially since she's got a record to defend. But if it comes down to trust in the bigger sense, this could erode some of the willingness to entrust Jason Kenney with the premiership. Because, again, there are a lot of people in Alberta who, whether former Progressive Conservatives, who didn't like the entitlement and the corruption of the old PCs, and they want that done with, or Wild Rosers, who also had similar concerns but are also looking to promote truer democratic principles and practices. For them, if they've got somewhere else to go that they think is more trustworthy, then that could make a difference. I mean, it's too soon to know exactly what the impact is going to be, but the potential is there for sure.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Indeed, we will.
Thank you so much for your time, Lori Williams.
Thanks very much.